Hello guys, am I audible? Just let me know right now over on the chat box if I'm audible or not. Guys, a bit interaction is required. It's because until and unless you interact over on the chat box like yes or no or any doubts, I won't be able to understand that you guys are able to hear or not. Okay, okay. Nishita, thanks. So I'm audible. So let's just start off with the session. I just wanted to give you a small introduction from my end. So, hi, I'm Nishan. I was working in Capgemini from last year. Then I shifted to Sony Ericsson. Also, I've been a part of different educational firms, also a freelancer for different colleges and give training to different technologies for on that purpose. As mentioned, so as by the way, if you guys want to inform as in like if you guys want to tell me which college you are from, you can tell me over on that part over on the chat box. I will be more happier to know about that one as well. And as it is not a Google Meet or Zoom, so we can't have a one-on-one interaction. Only our chat boxes are get through over there. So I would just insist to use this chat box and we will be going ahead. But before that, as mentioned, our major topic is of today is to cover OOPS, right? Object oriented programming language, right? Getting the point? Most of you are aware with these topics. That's great and much more best good thing over there. I would say I would mention on that part, and some of you are not aware, or I would say like some of you are lagging behind with these topics. So I will be like insisting you to, I mean, those people who are aware with these topics, I will insist you to just have a small revision. It will be great for you guys as well, and you will be going through it fine. So before that, I would say, as it is not a one-on-one session as I mentioned earlier before, I will be saying, I mean, if you are having doubts, you can pinpoint me over on the chat box. I will be helping you out. I can see I have connected with two of my devices, my laptop, my phone as well. So I can see the text which you guys will be putting it forward through it. So we can start off with the session. So now, why it is most important object oriented programming language? It's because most of you, I guess, we are from CSEs, or maybe who are not from CSEs, like some of them from M mechanical core branches like civil, electrical. I mean, most of you want to be a part of the IT industry, right? And to be a part of IT industry, you need to, I mean, you have to have a knowledge about this topic called OP. Got the point? Now, what is this OP all about? Object oriented programming language. And why is it necessary? Now, first, why is it necessary? I'm describing about that one. It's because, just a second, hold on. Okay, as I was saying, why it was necessary, it's because all the coding language, like nearly about most of the coding languages, are dealing with, just a second, hold on. Most of the coding languages are dealing as in like they are having the advantages or features, I would say, to be a part of object oriented programming language. Now, adjective, you know what are this adjective? Consider that I'm telling that people over there, I mean, consider that one of your friend having an adjective like he's smart, he's good in academics, and he plays basketball. So these are the adjective of his what? Of your friend. Fine. Now we, as I have mentioned about the adjective of your friend, that means that similarly our coding language has got the adjective as well. Now, what is the adjective of that coding language is to be considered as what? Oops. So there are different kinds of coding languages like C, C++, Java, Python, C Sharp. Every coding language has got two different terms, like one is POP, one is OOP. Now, object-oriented programming languages nearly cover up all of the coding aspects. So before getting into the part of object-oriented programming language, we have the thing called procedure-oriented programming language. That is to be called as POP. Now, if I go in the descriptive purpose of what is POP, it is a high-level language provide an easy approach to the user in what developing to solve logic and any problem with the computer system. Now, if I would say it is what it is a high level language, that is everyone have understood this one. And what it does is that it helps me to solve any problem with the help of my logical statements. And these languages are what machine independent. Like machine independent, like there are two types. One is user independent, one is to be called as what machine independent. User independent is like the language doesn't require the user to perform any certain code over on that part. And machine independent is just like it doesn't require the technological aspect to be controlled over on that aspect. That's what machine independent is all about. Now we can develop and understand the programming logic what without having much knowledge about the computer's architecture. What do we mean by this predefined languages written over on that part, right? So consider that whenever we are writing a code, fine, the pre assigned data values come over on that aspect and we click on that one and we get a running part over there. So that's what it sees over there, computer architecture. It doesn't require much, I mean, doesn't require the programmer to have a much knowledge over there. Now, conventional programming using what high level languages, what are those? Basic, COBOL, Fortran, C are what my procedure oriented programming language. Now, most of you was having doubt that which are the language being a part of POP. So C is one of C. I mean, most of you have learned C language. C is a part of my object-oriented programming language. And this COBOL and Fortran are outdated languages, so companies don't use that one. But decades ago, like 2 or 3 decades ago, 20, 30 years ago, COBOL and Fortran was used to be the most trendy language over on that part, like over on those years. The procedure-oriented programming, the procedure-oriented approach also allows the user to what? Develop their logic by applying the number of functions. So as of now, just skip the function part. Like most of you, the people who are not aware what are functions because it's a part of a coding aspect. When we will be going up, going into the terms of what coding analysis, I will be explaining what are these functions all about. As of now, understand the features of POP, languages that are used in POP, those things. That's it. So now, what do we have? Let's just skip this one. In procedure and programming language, the system, what it does is that it gives more emphasis on the functions rather than the data items. But OP, what it does is that it gives emphasis on the data items rather than the functions. I will be explaining you the technological aspect over there. But if I would see the characteristics of POP, that is procedural programming language, what are those? Emphasis on the functions. Those this first point we have gone through it. Fine. Excuse me. Functions share global data. Whenever we are using the function term, we have the two things. One is called global data, that is what function call, and function signature, in which we pass our value from the two aspects. And thirdly, we have the characteristic says to be as what? Data values can keep floating from one function to another. That means I can pass my function parametric value from function call to my function signature over on the argument purpose. That's it. What it does is that it uses top-down approach. But OP, what it does is that it uses bottom-down approach. We have two different things. I'm trying to correlate with the analysis and the aspects which we have been implemented on. So, what is POP? POP, what it gives emphasis on the functions. It shares global data. Data values can keep floating from one function to another. And what it does is that it gives a top down approach in a programming part. So I think characteristics of POP you have understood. Anyone having doubts, guys, you can just type it over on the chat box. I will be surely helping you out over on that point. So, if I would say what is the limitation of my POP, as data values are global to all the functions, we may require to make necessary changes in all the function due to any change in my data values. So the most important aspect which is says to be as in like, so all the data values as the data is global as in like anyone can access the data. I That means that my functions can share any common properties and common logics, and we have to make the necessary changes when in all my functions when my data values are being passed through. Done. So then after what do we have is it is not suitable to solve complex problem in real time situation. So to overcome these things we will be going with our oops, but as of now guys, I'm just giving you 5 minutes of time. Go through it. My screen is being displayed. Try to understand. Tell me if you're having doubts, and then we will be starting with our oops. So take your time. And before we go on an earlier page, just remember that thing. That is what the languages it is being demonstrated. Languages, as in like which languages our POP supports. That's it. As of now, go with the characteristics, go with the limitations, and the basic terminologies over there, and tell me if you're having doubts. I'm giving you 5 minutes of time, guys. Okay, guys. So I guess I have given you enough time to cover up with the terminologies which I have taught you on a POP. So that was my overview concept. Now we will be starting with the important terms over on our OOPS. Okay. So OOPS, you everyone knows object-oriented programming language. POP was what my procedure-oriented programming part. If I scroll the thing up, you can see like the languages which my OOPS support are what? C++, Java, Smalltalk, Simula, Eiffel, etc. If I see with the definitional aspect of my OOPS, what are those? And object-oriented programming is what? It's a modular approach. Now, which allows the data to be applied within a stipulated program area. Stipulated program area means a certain certified in a big fixed part. It also provides the reusability feature to develop a productive logic, which means that it gives more emphasis on the data. I will be showing you what are the properties of my CS, object-oriented programming. So first, the languages support by OOPS, what are those? C++, Java, and Simula, Smalltalk, all these things. Fine. When we are done with this one, it is a modular approach. That is what code first approach. That is what code has been written first, and we have to just write the modular thing. That is what the editing purpose, which allows my data to be applied over a stipulated parameter, like a certain limited area. That's it. It allows provides the reusability feature to develop a productive logic. Reusability feature like just a code has been written, we can write the code once again and repetitive, and we can edit on that purpose. That's what reusability feature means, like, which means give it more emphasis on the data items. Over on a POP, it gives more emphasis on the functions rather than data items. So let's just check this one out. The features of OP. So it gives the stress on the data items rather than the functions, which I've told you on the earlier aspect. It makes the complete program or problem more simpler by dividing into number of objects. This thing is also one of the important concepts. So what is that? It is giving more stress on my data items. Okay, fine, rather than my functions. And also it is making my complete program or problem more simpler by dividing into number of pieces of the object. Excuse me. The object can be used as what? My bridge. Okay, to have data flow from one function to another, and we can easily modify my data without changing my function. But as it was my POP, that is what procedure and programming language, we had to do what? We had to take permission, and actually the values was passing from function call to function signature. So we had to do what? Changes. But I mean, like, every passing needed a change over there, but over here we don't require that one. Then after, the object is used for what? It's used as what? Bridges, in which we can use the flow of my data as a function signature to another. That's it. Basically, it says to be on that concept. Also remember the point, it gives more emphasis on the data rather than the function. That's it. Also, it makes the program problem divided into number of objects by which packets I would mention. So these were my features for OOPS. Like, someone might ask you what is the language which OOPS support and what are the features. Can you tell me one or two features of them? I think now you are clarificably, you can easily make and understand this, like, interviewer probably. Now, when we are done with this one, we have the next thing that is to be called as what? Basic elements of OOPS, the principle of my OOPS. So what are those? Objects, classes, data abstractions, encapsulations, data hiding, inheritance, polymorphism, and data binding. What are these? These are what? Adjective of OOPS. I have told you the example of that one of your friend having these kind of adjective of himself. So these are the adjective of my OOPS. That is what the principal structure of my OOPS programming language. The objects, classes, data abstractions, all of these things. I will be explaining you all of them with the example point of view. That is what? Real world example with the correlating with those purpose. So I think it will be much more easier concept, or is easier for you or on that concept. So as of now, what you do is that try to recapitulate what is POP, features of POP, limitation of POP, as well as languages supported. Same goes for OOPS, features, languages, and the characteristics. Also, the next thing gets added is what? The principles. So as of now, go through this one. Tell me if you guys are having any doubts. That is what you can type it over on the chat box. That's for sure. Then after a few minutes, we will be starting off with our objects. Then and henceforth, we will be going with our next parts. So take your time, tell me if you're having doubts, and go through this one. Okay, guys. So I guess you have went with the part of oops. That is what the featuring and the concepts of that one. That is what the elements. Now we will be starting off with our objects, right? Objects was our main property, the first main property of our oops, right? In an object-oriented programming language, the attempts are made to break a problem into some components called objects. So what we do is that we divide over an earlier concept that was told in an object-oriented programming language, that we divide the problem and the program into parts to make it more simpler. That is what we are doing. We are dividing into objects over on that purpose. They are basic elements of my object-oriented programming system, and they're also known as what entities of my OP. That is what object-oriented programming language, right? The set of related objects may exchange data and information. They may interact with each other. Thus, object is what? It is a unique entity which contains data and functions. That is what characteristics and behavior together in what my object oriented programming language. So learn, I mean, as of now, mug up with the definition, which says to be as what? It is a unique entity which contains data and functions. So what are data and functions? These are about my characteristics and my behaviors. That is completely covered up in our object oriented programming language. So I think I'm clear with this one. Just a second, hold on, guys. Okay. Now, if I would say like objects, I think I have made you clear on that aspect. Now, next, what do we have? Let us consider the real world objects. What are those which are visible before us? Any object in the real world can possess the following characteristics. What are those characteristics? It is visible. It can be defined and described very easily. It can be put into thought and actions. Now, consider this phone is my object, right? It is visible. Yeah, we can see the phone. It can be defined and described easily. Obviously, I can easily name it as what phone. I can easily distinguish as it what it is the air conditioner. I can easily distinguish it as what it is my photographical imaging picture taking thing, if I would say in a descriptive way. Then after we have the thing is what it can be put into thought and action. That is what I can implement and use that one, right? Phone, with the help of my phone, I can use anything, but whatever I want. I can access anything whichever I want. That's what the characteristics of an object belong to. Now it has got the following characteristics. So you can observe this anything fulfilling the above mentioned criteria has unique entity, definite shape, and example. So for example, what we are doing is we are considering an object as a table. So what are those characteristics? It has got legs, four legs, it has got a plain top, and the following behaviors. What are those behaviors including as it is used for what? Keeping the glasses or maintain like any books over there. So what you can see is that objects are what the normal things which we are doing as what, and we are dividing our complex problems into objects that which it is helpful for making the problem statement more easier to solve over on that purpose. I think I'm clear with these things. Next, after we have one of the most important concepts is to be as what how we create an object. With the help of my new keyword, I can create the object. Remember this concept. First declaration, second instantiation, third is initialization. Guys, anyone having doubts, you can pinpoint me. I have told you earlier above as well. You can type it over on the chat box. Okay. Okay. So declaration, what it says to be as in like it uses the classes as data types using what my objects. And instantiation is what with the help of my new keyword I can create the object which I have told you earlier before. And initialization is what we initialize the value as in like I equals to 5, I equals to I can dance, anything like that one. So initialization is what my third part. As of now, just try to analyze the thing that is what is my object, example of an object that is what a real world conceptual thing, and see how we are declaring that one. Then after a few minutes we will be starting off with the classes. So go with that one. Tell me if anyone having doubts, and then we'll be proceeding further. Okay, guys. So we can go ahead with the next part. So I think the classes are done, and then after we can go with our the new part of our class. Okay. So the class is what is a set of my similar objects. Each object of a class possesses same attributes and common behaviors defined within the same class. So if I would say in the definitional aspect, it is just a part of, I mean, it is just a collection of my objects only. We just combine our object to form a class. Each object of a class possesses what same attribute. That is what obviously when we will be having the objects, it will be of a similar type, right? So it will be possessing what same attributes, common behavior defined within the same class. So you have to note that this one, that is what class is by set of similar objects. Each object of a class possesses same attributes and common behavior defined within the same classes because it is a part of our objects itself, right? So that's the reason why. Attributes of a class, it will be like similar type. If we are having the data members like company, model number, color, size, type of a screen, price, we will be having same types of data members, and methods will be what get data to get and certified over the collection of a data values. Display is used for what? Display function for printing that purpose. Consider it that way. So this part is quite understandable. Now this one is very much important. Classes are also termed as object factory. Why? We each object belonging to specific class possess data and methods defined within the same class. That is what class, which I have told you earlier before, it is always a part of my what objects. That is what it is, a set of collection of my objects. That's it. And excuse me, guys. Each object belonging to specific class possesses data and methods defined within the class. It's it produces objects of similar type, and we call it as what object factory. We obviously create a object which will be, I mean, we obviously create a class which will be of similar kind of a object, and it will be of same kind of a value. So we call it as what object factory on that purpose. I think I'm clear with this one as well. Now, if I would say object is what an instant of a class, where each object is created from a class, it is to be called as instance. I think it is not needed to be described to you guys. Creating an instant of a class is sometimes what it is referred as what instanting. Remember this thing, first it was what declaration, initialization, and instantation, right? So the procedure, you know that one. Priorly I have told you the real world example. So Doberman, you know it's a dog, which is an instance of a class called dog instance. So it is a heading or texture of the dog. We have already discussed the data members of a class are to be referred as what instant variables, which I have told you. These instant variables are embedded. That is what added automatically within the objects at the time of a creation. When we create our object, it is being added over on the pre added basis. Then after, hence object is referred as what instant of a class. So that's the reason why we usually call it as what instant of a class. I think I'm clarified with this one as well. So if I would say the difference between class and objects, it is represented, it is representation of only an abstraction. Object is what? It is a real and unique entity having some characteristics and behaviors, and it is an object producer and hence called as what blueprint of a set of objects. It is what it is created using a new operand, and this to be called as object factory. This is to be called as instance of a class. I have told you why classes are to be called as object factory. I have told you why objects are to be called as instance of a class, and classes are what It describes, that is what it represents. It represents only an abstraction. And objects are what? It is a real and unique entity, helps in some characteristics and behavior. Those things, two things I have described you earlier before. And object produces what? A blueprint, that is what? A background set of data values. And hence it is used for what? With the help of my new operand, I can create those values. I think I'm clear with the difference between class and objects as well. Now it's your task to cover up the difference, the definition, the prior things, why this we call as instead of a class. Brainstorm those things. Tell me if you're having doubts. Then after we will be going with the encapsulation type. So go through it, guys. Okay, guys, so we can go with the next concept. I guess we have seen the major difference between classes and objects. So, furthermore, we have the thing that is to be called as what? Encapsulation, right? So, first, let us see the real world concept and the example, which says to be as what? Let's consider a TV set, that is what a real world object, okay, operated by a remote control. That's fine. The functions of a TV set are regulated with remote signals. Everyone knows this part, coming out from a remote control. A specific function in a TV set is activated by pressing the buttons over on a remote control. The remote control of one of a TV set can be used in the operating of a various function of another TV sets. That's what it says to be as what one TV set's remote is not applicable for my different TV sets. That's what it says over there. Thus, you can say that the activities of a TV sets are merged or grouped with the remote signals of a specific remote control. So I think I'm clarified with this one. It's just a real world conceptual example. If we say with the data abstraction is one of my most important concepts. So example is what? First, I'm just explaining you the definitional concept. So the definitional concept of my data abstraction is what? I mean, the abstract, thus abstraction refers to be as what? The representation of essential features without including background and details. So that we mention as what? My abstraction. Without including my background in detail, we call it as what? Abstraction over there. Now, consider that you are driving a car, okay? The visible things over on the car is what? The steering wheel, the accelerator, the gearbox, the clutch plate, all those things are visible to you. But the important thing in which the car is moving is what? Through our engines, right? It is not visible. But what it is being showing as what? It is representing essential features. The background details are being not mentioned. The what is by background detail? The engine purpose, the engine, the axles of the wheel, all things are to be called as what? My background details. That is not being mentioned over there. So abstraction refers to be as what? Act of representing essential features without including backgrounds and details over there. So definition with the help of relation of that one for the car purpose, I have told you. So steering wheel, accelerator, clutch, brake, gears, these things are visible over there. But the important thing that is what the background feature, that is what my engine is not visible. The motors, the axles, the plates, those things are not visible. I think I'm clarified this one. And remember the concept, that is what the object-oriented programming abstraction is an absolute property of a class. The class encapsulates the data items and functions to promote abstraction. Okay, the data members are accessed only through the related functions. So since the property of the abstraction is to be called as abstract data type, so now it's your task. I'm giving you 15 minutes of time. Have few rest as well. I know you guys are having a lot of continued classes. So have 2 minutes of rest, 2, 3 minutes of rest. Cover up the concept of what the data abstraction, the encapsulation one, with the real world concept which I have told you, the example of that one. See the definition as well, and tell me when you are done, as well as if you are having any doubts. Also see why abstraction is to be called as what? Abstract data type. So go through it, guys. Okay, so guys, I guess you have covered with the concept of what data abstractions, encapsulations, the definitional concept, applying with the real world concept as well. Those things you have done. So I'm assuming you have understood those things. Anyone having doubts, you can type it over on the chat box as well. I will be helping you over there. Now, our next motto is what? Covering up our inheritance. Now, what do we mean by this? Excuse me. Inheritance is what is the process by which object of one class can link and share some common properties to the object of another class. Now, what are those two classes? One is to be called as what? The child class. One is to be called as what? My parent class. Now, if I would say I am trying to link my child class to parent class, vice versa, from parent class to child class as well. It's up to me how I usually refer. I can correlate that one. So in the definition itself, I can see as in like it's a process in which I can link two classes. I have told you what are those two classes, and it is being quite useful over on that purpose. Now, if I would say it provides us the reusability feature. Now it is what? What do we mean by this? It's a process of adding some additional features to the class without modifying the contents. Without editing the content purpose, we can edit the thing. That is what it means. It helps us of our what? Reusability features. I can reuse my functions whenever I want to. It's up to me. Now I think I'm clear with that one as well. Then we have the mensuration. It's just an example. You can see two-dimensional arrays and two-dimensional attributes, three-dimensional attributes. Two-dimensional attributes contain what? Circle, rectangle. Three-dimensional attribute contains my cuboid and cylinder. Now, in the circle, it contains attributes and radius. But if I update that thing, it forms to be as what? Cylinder. My cylinder thing also contains this radius as well. But the thing gets added as in what? Heights, right? We are editing that purpose. My circle is being edited to what? Cylinder. Rectangle has got length and breadth. But when we form up with what? Cuboid, all one more thing gets added, that is what? My height. So all you can see is that with the help of that one only, we are editing, we are reusing the purpose. I'm reusing my circle to form a different thing. I'm reusing my rectangle to form and make it as what? Cuboid. That's what it's what reusability feature we actually mean all to it. Fine. When we are done with this one, we have the thing called polymorphism. It is also one of the most important concept. Now, in the polymorphism, we see is that it is a process of using the function for more than one purpose. Consider that you are having a bike and your bike is being used by you as well as your friends. So using the bike for more than one purpose, I mean by more than one people, is to be called as example as what? Polymorphism. I'm trying to correlate with the real world concept, guys. So polymorphism is what? Is the process of using the function for more than one purpose. That's it. And what it actually does, it allows the use of different internal structure. Excuse me, guys. It allows the use of different internal structure of the object by keeping the same external interface. So that's what polymorphism actually means. If I would say in the definitional aspect, if I repeat this concept, it's a process of using the function for more than one purpose. Okay, that's it. And it allows the use of different internal structure and by keeping the same external interface. For the definitional concept, just mug up this thing. That's it. Then after when we are done with this one, we have a last thing to be mentioned as what? Dynamic binding. Now, what do we mean by this? It's the process of linking the function call and function signature at the runtime during the execution of a program. So if I correlate this thing with my what? Real world concept, I am using the dynamic binding to the caller function. So I have got the address over here. I'm passing the value to my functions, to the data values, and I'm going through it. That's what the basic concept actually it means over there. So dynamic binding has got over a definition which means to be as what? It's a process by which linking the function call and function signature. So let's have a small revision, guys. What we have learned from the starting, I will be telling you, I will be helping you from the revisional aspect, what we have covered till now. So before that, let's just see benefits of oops. Oops are what the benefit says to be as what? We can extend the use of what? The existing class through inheritance. Obviously, I have told you with the help of inheritance, linking the function and call and function signature, it says to be as what? Then after using the concept data hiding and generate the secured program as well. Then after multiple instances of an object can be generated to coexist without my interference. So that's what multiple inheritance actually means. Then after we have the thing that is what we can create different modules in our project through objects. Okay, fine. So with my help of my objects, I can easily create my different project purpose over there. This is highly beneficial to solve complex problems as well. It is easy to modify and maintain software complexities also. So as of now, just understand what are the benefits of OOPS. Then after, I'm just explaining you from the starting thing what we have learned. A speed, quick recovery, I would say, like a revisional point of aspect. Now, we started with our POP, that is to be called as procedure oriented programming language. Languages that procedure oriented programming language supports are what? Basic, COBOL, Fortran, C, all those things. Fine. Before that, I'm giving you 5 minutes, guys. First, before my quick revision, you guys go through it, the concepts which I have taught you. Then I will be revising with you guys. Okay, guys, let's just revise the concept which we have gone through. I will be just telling you on a revisional aspect in a real quick way, and then we will be wrapping it off. We started with our POP, Procedure Programming Language. We have seen the languages which support POPs are what basic COBOL, Fortran, C. I have told you. I've also explained you the basic characteristics of POPs as well. The limitation of POP, I have explained you that one as well. The emphasis of the function shares global data, uses top-down approach, all those things were done. Then we have completed the limitation of our POP. The limitation says to be as what is not suitable to solve complex problems, as well as I have told you that the data values share global data as compared to what is necessary changes are to be required. Then we have came up with the object-oriented programming language, the language which supports OP. I have told you the definitional aspect of OP. I have told you as well of that one. After that, we have seen the features of object-oriented programming language, the basic elements, that is what the principal structures of our object-oriented programming language, that is what our OOPs, classes, data abstractions. But the major difference is what our object-oriented programming language and POP says to be as what it gives emphasis on the data items rather than the functions. But this one says to be as what it gives emphasis on the functions rather than the data items. Those things I have told you. First, we started with the OOP objects. Objects are what is a unique entity which contains data and functions together in object-oriented programming language. And what are data and functions? I have told you the characteristics and behaviors. Those things I have told you that I have also correlated with the real world concept of our objects with the help of example of a table. Then I have told you what is the use of this new keyword. I have explained you that one as well. When we did all these things, we have came up with the use of this new operator. The what is this? The class is a set of similar objects. Each object of a class possesses same attributes and common behavior within the same class. I think I'm clear with this one as well. After that, we have seen the classes are also to be called as what object factory. I've explained you that one as well. The differences between classes and objects, this thing has been done. And encapsulation, I have explained you the definitional aspect. Data abstraction, I have explained you the definitional aspect. Also the real world concept, the example of a car, that one, the back hiding of background and detail. Then and the data abstraction says to be as what act of representing essential features without including background detail. I have explained you that one. Then we came up with what inheritance. Inheritance is a process by which object of one class can link and share some common properties to the object of another class. What are those two classes? Parent class, child class. It helps me to recollect the information from my child class to parent class or vice versa, from child to parent class. Then inheritance provides reusability feature. Reusability feature is what's the process of adding the functions or the features without including and modifying the contents as well. Those things were done. I've told you the definitional aspect of polymorphism. Polymorphism is what? Using the function for more than one purpose. Then after we have to, I went with the dynamic binding. It's called linking the function call and function signature. So our object, also lastly, we have covered up with the benefits of a OOPS programming language. Our major task of what the covering of our OOPS, that is what object oriented programming language, in the definitional aspect, relating with the origin, real world examples, all these things are covered up. Anyone having doubts, you can ask me over there. I will be helping you out. So I'm taking the remaining time for the question answer analysis. You guys ask me, then after we will be wrapping the session off. So thank you guys. Okay, guys, I feel like no one is having doubts, so probably we can wrap it off over here. So, thank you guys for joining.